Okay, so this is going to be class 8 history chapter 5 according to the NCRT, updated NCRT. When people rebel, the revolt of 1857 and after. So this chapter is going to be like it's a lengthy chapter, but if you know the story, it is going to be easy for you. And if I start with this chapter, I would like to tell you that the war of independence, first war of independence, was this for India. From here, we understood that Britishers are common enemy and we have to fight against them together. So this is going to be a very like it's a milestone for us. Okay, so we have to learn it sincerely, and it's going to be helpful for you if you want to like revise the chapter. And rest you need to read the chapter. You should read the chapter actually, but once you do this video, you go through this video, it will become easy for you. Okay, so if we see that what happened in the beginning, so you see the first immediate cause was that sepoys, they were not able to, the Britishers were not good with the Hindi pronunciation, so they used to call sipahi as sepoys. So sepoys are the soldiers, and Indian soldiers basically in the European, in the British East India Company's army. So they people revolted against Britishers once, and that was known as Sepoy Mutiny. Okay, and the reason behind that was actually, I would like to tell you one thing more, that there were different groups of army, or you can say soldiers, in the different part of the country to protect it, and they were known as regiments. The groups were known as regiment. So there was one regiment in Barakpur that was named as Barakpur regiment, and in that regiment was in was the place from where actually the one person Mangal Pandey, one sepoy Mangal Pandey, I think we all are familiar with the name. He did like he first revolted against. He opposed that we will not use the cartridges which are covered with the pigs and cows fat. So we will not use it, and he was hanged to death first time. And from there, this revolt or this mutiny spread all over the country, northern part of the country and central part of the country, and then it became a revolt. So that we have to learn in this chapter. And from here it starts that on 10th May 1857 in the town of Meerut, and soon escalated. It started from there and soon it escalated into other mutinies and civilian rebellions, largely in the upper Gangetic plain and central India. So this way it spread, but the center was Meerut. The Barakpur regiment was the reason. So from here we start, and then we see there were different policies made by Britishers, and they affected people living in our country, or you can say Indian subcontinent. So the policies enforced by the East India Company had different effect on different people of the society. Kings, queens, peasants, landlords, tribals, soldiers. We learned about all of these in the previous chapters, that how they got affected. Like kings and queens were affected because of the doctrine of lapse and subsidiary alliance kind of policies. Then peasants and landlords were affected due to the we can say the taxes, revenue collection system. Then tribals, if we talk about the tribals, they were affected because of the forest law. We read all these in the previous chapters. And soldiers, right now we are learning about them. So they were affected because of their religious sentiments, which were being hurt by the Britishers. Also, they were not given proper conditions for the work. So that's why these things affected people, and then they responded in against this thing. The people resisted these policies and action in various ways, and after that we'll continue. Nawabs lose their power. Now, one by one, we'll understand. So, since the mid 18th century, Nawab and Rajas saw their power eroded. Means the power, they were losing their power. They lost their freedom, their authority, and their honor in their own kingdoms. The British appointed residents in many courts. So you learned about residents in some of the previous chapters, and you know that they were actually the appointed spies by the Britishers in the courts of Indian rulers. So they started doing that interference work, and they did it continuously, due to which the kings and nawabs were not happy. The freedom of rulers reduced, and their arms forced disbanded. So we all know that subsidiary alliance, under which the local rulers were not supposed to keep their independent army. They had to take this from the British East India Company, and for which they had to pay certain amount. And if they were not allowed to, I mean, they were not able to pay that, then their land, their part of territory would be taken or captured or annexed by the Britishers. So these things were not like going correct with the Indian rulers, and they understood that it is kind of a strategy to expand their rule, Britishers' rule. In 1801, a subsidiary alliance was imposed on Awadh, which was one of the initial political formations. If you remember 7th class, last chapter of history, that we learned there were three independent kingdoms in the 18th century after Mughals decline, out of which Awadh was one of them. So it was annexed in 1856 on the basis of administration. They said that the Britishers said that people are not able to govern it properly, so they said we will take care of it. Along with this, direct conquest and doctrine of lapse were imposed, and symbol of authority were destroyed. So this way they started treating Indian rulers like no one, and then they got angry with them and they got disappointed, the Indian rulers. So Rani Lakshmibai, next one is Rani Lakshmibai, who wanted East India Company to recognize her adopted son as heir to the throne. But as they made certain rules, like they said that it is under the doctrine of lapse, if the king does not have a biological son, he will not be able to continue ruling, or the territory will be taken by the British East India Company. So that was happening, but Rani Lakshmi Bai rebelled against it, and she said that no, please like give the permission to my adopted son to become the king on that in that area, Jhansi. Nana Sahib, but it was not accepted. Nana Sahib, the adopted son of Peshwa Baji Rao, and he pleaded that he be given his father's pension when he died. Again, he was the adopted son, so in the case of adopted son, there was no pension given. The company began to plan to bring an end to the Mughal dynasty, and Bahadur Shah Zafar was declared as the last king of the Mughals. So yes, the Mughal dynasty, or we can say Mughals rule, started with Babur and ended with Bahadur Shah Zafar officially by the British. They said that after that Bahadur Shah Zafar, there will be no next king. So this way they wanted to end it, and this was one of the reasons why people were not happy with them. Then why peasants and sepoys were not happy? So first we'll talk about the peasants. We all know that peasants had to pay a lot of tax, which they resented, because they had to take loans to pay the taxes, which was becoming a difficult thing for them. So they do not like the rigid and strict methods of tax collection. We know there were three types of tax collection method. I mean, there were three methods of tax collection. We learned about it in third chapter: permanent settlement, then Mahalwari system, and Ryotwari system. So they were not going well with the people, the peasants, and they started opposing that thing, that we will not pay the taxes. Gradually they failed to pay back to the money lenders and lost their land they tilled for generations. Exactly, if the taxes are high and the production is not that much, so what will happen? They will not be able to pay taxes, they will not produce that much, and then if they have to pay tax, then they have to take money from the money lender, and once they are taking the money from the money lender, they have to pay the interest as well, which will trap them into the debt trap. So that's why they were not happy. And now, why the sepoys so-called sepoys were not happy. So sepoys were not happy because their wages, salary, pays and allowances, and that was very low, and also with the conditions in which they had to live and work, that was not good condition. Moreover, some new rules violated their religious sensibilities and beliefs. So Britishers never respected their religion, so they used to make them do things, compel them do things which were not going well with their religious belief. So that's why the sepoys were not happy. Okay. Sepoys also had the agricultural background, so they were directly affected by the revenue policies of the British. So again, if the family is not doing well, they are not able to pay the taxes, or automatically the sepoys will not be working properly, they'll be tensed always. So this happened. There were certain reforms done by the Britishers, like they removed the sati system, they made law against that widow remarriage. I mean, not in the favor of widow remarriage. Plus, they had also given certain rights to the Christian missionaries, which came to India to convert in Indian people into Christian religion. So they had given certain privileges to them, and also the people who were converting into Christianity. So it was a kind of you can say drawback, or you can say the point where Indians, some conservative society, they became quite disappointed. So yeah, let's read about it. The British believed that Indian society had to be reformed. Laws were passed to stop sati practice and to encourage remarriage of widows, as I told you. If you want to remember, or you want to practice, recall when was sati system, law against sati system came, and when widow remarriage act came. You can write the years in the chat box. English language education was promoted. This was one of the reasons why Indians were not happy, that in our culture we had a different system of education which was changed. If you've learned chapter number 6, then you know about it. I know it's the next chapter, so you'll be learning next. But yes, it is also mentioned there that English language education was promoted by the Britisher at a time, and then the whole system of education changed in India. Christian missionaries began to function freely and own land and property. So Christian missionaries, as I told you, they got certain privileges. They got the land here and property here in India. They started settling here, and also the people who were converting into Christianity, the property rights were like the provision for property rights made easy for them. Indian took these reforms as offense to their culture and heritage, and consider them as a subordination of religious practices, and opposed them. So yes, I told you already that these were not going well with the people who were like conservative, who didn't want the things to be changed in the society this way. So they didn't like it, and they got disappointed, and then they started opposing these things. People conceived that the English were determined to wipe out the religions of Hindu and Muslim, and wanted the whole population to be converted to Christianity, which was actually correct. They wanted to change people's religion to Christianity, so that they had majority of the people of Christianity to support British rule in India. A mutiny becomes a popular rebellion. People began to believe that they have a common enemy, and then they should rise up against this. So now you understood the background, that who are the people actually not happy, or suffering just because of the British law or British policies, and they were not satisfied, they were not happy, they were disappointed. So now what will be uh, the result, means what they will do later? So they will start doing revolt, they will start doing a big protest, which is going to be known as revolt of 1857. So people begin to believe that they have a common enemy, and they rise up against this. In May 1857, a massive rebellion started against the company's very presence in India. The instant reason of mutiny was, now this is immediate reason, or you can immediate cause, instant reason, whatever you want to say is that. So instant reason of mutiny was the use of cartridge greased with cow and pig fat. I think it's very famous thing. You learn it from fifth class. So you know that they were given certain type of cartridges used in the musket and matchlocks, which were covered with a coat of fat of cow and pig, and sepoys took it as blot on their religious sentiments, and news spread it in all the regiment. Sepoys mutinied in several places, beginning with Meerut, and a large number of people from different sections of society rose up in rebellion. So everybody got involved slowly, but because at that time there was no fast communication means, so things were spreading slowly, and because it happened among the sepoys, so it spread among the sepoys quickly, but later it came to be in the knowledge of other kings and rulers and local people also, from Meerut to Delhi. Now, it started from Meerut, what happened in Meerut, and then we'll get to know what exactly it led to. Okay, so Mangal Pandey was executed for attacking his officers in Barakpur. Mangal Pandey was one of the sepoys in Barakpur regiment, and he first opposed this thing, then he was hanged to death. Okay, and on 29th March, it is 8th April in the new book. On 28th April in 1857, Mangal Pandey, a young soldier, was hanged to death for attacking his officers in Barakpur, and soldiers also rebelled against the use of greased cartridges. So 85 soldiers were put in jail at that time. In response to this revolt, soldiers were captured and were put in jail. The response of the other Indian soldiers in Meerut was quite extraordinary. They marched to the jail or to Meerut and released the imprisoned sepoy. Now, the other regions sepoys, they also understood that the bad things are happening with our brothers actually in the other regiments. So they thought, let's go there, and they came to Meerut, and then they released those people who were put in jail or who were in prison. So they were released, and after releasing them, they all went to Delhi. They marched to Delhi. Why? Because they wanted to meet the last ruler, the last Mughal ruler, to make this mutiny, or you can say revolt, a big picture. So they went to Delhi. So the regiment stationed in Delhi also rose up in rebellion, and many British officers were killed, arms and ammunition seized, buildings set on fire. Many things happened in the way. So yes, the soldiers forcibly met Bahadur Shah Zafar and proclaimed as him as the leader. And he like the other sepoys, all the sepoys who reached to Delhi, this requested Bahadur Shah Zafar to become the leader, become the emperor after once they win this revolt or the complete protest. Bahadur Shah Zafar accepted the rebellion's plea. He accepted the request of the soldiers and called regional rulers to fight against the British. It means the emperor Bahadur Shah Zafar, he requested the local rulers to help to support these sepoys in the revolt. So many of them came to help them. Now here you can see the map. This map is going to be very very important, because the places like Delhi, Bareilly, Muradabad, Etawah, Gwalior, Jhansi, Kanpur, Lucknow, Faizabad, and your Barakpur. These are some important places where you can say these were the centers of revolt in 1857. So you need to mark them on the map, and you should learn it properly. Now the rebellion spread. Now when the rebellion spreads, it will spread everywhere. So we'll see different people who got involved as a leader in this revolt. So regiment after regiment mutinied and took off to join their other troops at nodal centers like Delhi, Kanpur, and Lucknow. So these were the centers which I told you on the map is important. These are actually the centers. One by one, the rebels spread to entire northern India, led to different leaders such as Nana Sahib from Kanpur. We read about why Nana Sahib was opposing the British government. Then Birjis Kadir of Lucknow and his mother Begum Hazrat Mahal Rani Lakshmi Bai took as active part in organizing the uprising against the Britishers. So this revolt was supported by these peoples. The whole scene frightened the British and they started changing notes of fear. So they found that it is going to be a big thing. Earlier they were not like expecting such big uprising, so they were okay with it, but later they understood, okay, it's going to be a problem for us. So the regional rulers allied with the Mughal ruler, as they thought that this way they can restore their authority to rule, which was not possible under the British administration. So why people are helping, why local rulers are helping the Mughal emperor? Because they understood that if the British will leave the country, will be able to rule again independently in our areas. So that's why they helped the king. Okay, now when the company found that, okay, this is going to be a problem for us, they took certain steps to stop it, to suppress this revolt. So the company brought a reinforcement from Britain. Okay, they brought some laws from there. New laws were passed to convict the rebels with ease. Delhi was recaptured from the rebels in September, and then the last Mughal emperor Bahadur Shah Zafar was tried in the court and sentenced to life imprisonment. It means he was sent to Rangoon's jail with his wife, and there he spent his last years of life, and then later he was killed. He was killed, or you can say he was sentenced to death. Okay, then Lucknow was taken in March 1858. Then Rani Lakshmi Bai was defeated and killed in 1858. Then people continued to resist and battle the British. The British had to fight for 2 years to suppress the massive forces of popular rebellion, and it was in 1859 that they were successful in getting the all rebels suppressed. So everything was that huge, or you can say it spread that way, that Britishers could not do it in a very quick manner. It took 2 years for them to finish everything, to bring back the situation which was earlier before 1857. So it took 2 years. Now aftermath is always what happened once everything was suppressed, the revolt was suppressed by the British. What happened later, what changes were made? So the British regained the control of India by the end of 1859. The British Parliament passed a new act in 1858 and transferred the power of East India Company to the British Crown. Now the power is not in the hand of British East India Company, a company which came to trade in India and then they control the territory. Now it is transferred, the power is transferred to the Queen, the crown of the Britain. So it happened. All ruling chiefs of the country were allowed to pass on their kingdoms to their heirs, including the adopted sons. So it means now there will be no subsidiary alliance, no doctrine of lapse. All such policies were null and void now. The ratio of Indian soldiers were reduced in the army and European soldiers were increased. Why? Because they knew if there will be Indian soldiers, the chances are high that again there will be certain kind of revolts. So they reduce the number of Indian soldiers and increase the European soldiers. Then the soldiers from Gorkha, Sikh and Pathans to be recruited instead of Awadh, Bihar and Central India, because they knew already Awadh, Bihar and Central India became the part of revolt, became the center of revolt. So if we are taking these back again, there are higher chances. So let's change the regions. So they took people from Gurkhas, Nepal area, Sikh from Punjab area, and Pathans from that area only, the northwest part of that Indian subcontinent, decided to respect customary, religious, and social practices. Now they understood, if we will, because Indians are quite sensitive towards the religion. So they thought that let's not interfere in their religious matter and respect their customary religious and social practices. Policies made to protect landlords and zamindars and gives new rights and securities over their land. So zamindars were getting their lands back, and the policies made easier for them to be in their area and collect the taxes. Britishers started the policy of non-interference in the social and religious sphere and just constrated only the political sphere. So this way they did their changes, what changes they made. So these are the changes which they made. So this way this chapter ended, very small chapter. Like if you read the textbook, it is going to be lengthy, but if you understand it properly, a story you frame in your mind and you make a timeline and you do the map thing, you will be able to like do this chapter very easily. To understand this chapter you don't need anything, just a half an hour and you'll be ready with this chapter. So all the best, learn it properly, and thank you for watching.